Famiglia Pizzeria. Stop by for a pizza that you'll love or call in and order yours for pickup. 352-245-2419. La Famiglia Pizzeria.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking Tuesday. The other day I went to the laundromat, Robin. And there was a lady in the laundromat, and she was wearing an old faded T-shirt from the old Dr. Pepper campaign where it said, "I'm a Pepper."
Oh, okay.
It said, "I'm a Pepper" on her shirt. It made me think of the book we're about to talk about. There's a character in the book called Pepper, right? The sister of the main character. If you have read the book, The Secret Life of Violet Grant, 100 Summers Overseas, then you know Beatriz Williams already. She's got another new book out. It's called Tiny Little Thing. And let's just say hello to her. Good morning. How are you, Beatriz?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I saw a shirt that said, "I'm a Pepper."
I heard that, and I laughed, and I'm like, I got to get my hands on that shirt, because, that's my perfect book tour shirt. Actually, the next book is about, the third sister, among them, Pepper. So
Oh, really?
I'm going to have to track down that shirt for when I'm presenting that one in November.
I don't know if Dr. Pepper still uses that campaign, but it must be at least 30 years old.
I would think
but
so.
eBay. eBay is your friend with these things.
And that's the kind of shirt you usually wear to a laundromat, is a 30-year-old shirt.
Exactly. I mean, actually, that shirt could be pretty valuable. I mean, this is vintage stuff.
Well, we've got a short interview with you, so we better cut to the chase. How are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm here in Connecticut, actually. I'm the crazy author who decided to move houses the same week as she's launching a book. It was not quite my decision. It just happened to be the end of the school year, and this was the date my publisher set for the book. So I just took a deep breath. But the good thing is I'm heading off on book tour. My poor husband has to unpack all the towels and sheets. So hopefully I still have a husband when I get home.
So do we picture you living in the same kind of a home as Christina Tiny Hardcastle?
Well, I am not actually on the shore. We're in this sort of old colonial farmhouse. It's near the shore, but it's a bit up the Connecticut River.
Oh, really?
So yes, it's kind of a bit of it used to be farmland, and now it's just sort of a lot of people come here for weekends and things. So I feel like we're kind of living the dream now. We broke free from the suburbs.
Oh, nice. I used to go to Connecticut for the weekends when I lived. Not many weekends, but my mom and dad would take us. When we were kids, we grew up on Long Island, so we'd go to Connecticut. Well, tell us, let's see, the story, Tiny Little Thing. Tiny is your character, Christina, right? Mm-hmm. And
yes.
Give us the story.
Well, it started out, she's kind of a spin-off character from The Secret Life of Violet Grant. And she's, in that book, you have a young woman in the 1960s, Vivian, who is kind of running around Manhattan. She's this smart-mouthed, madcap character, and she's trying to solve a mystery from 50 years earlier. And she mentions her sister. Actually, Tiny never appears on the page, but she does get mentioned as this Miss Goody Two-Shoes, the older sister, who has just done what every good girl in the 60s does, and she's married very well. In fact, she's married very, very married this glamorous, charismatic guy with political ambitions in New England, and Vivian really dismisses her sister. Very uninteresting, this boring, conventional young woman. And as soon as I wrote that paragraph, I knew that that perfect little Tiny was hiding a big, big secret. So Tiny Little Thing starts out in 1966. Tiny is married to Frank Hardcastle, who is this politician running for his first seat in Congress. And Tiny's just received a blackmail note with some incriminating photographs relating to an incident that occurred in 1964.
Wow.
Before her wedding. So we go back and forth between 1964 and 1966 when Tiny is trying to deal with the repercussions of her indiscretion right before her marriage.
So as a fan of the music of the 60s, if they make this into a movie, then it'll be a perfect setting. Why did you set the story in the 60s?
Well, it was partly I kind of stumbled back in. I'm actually, I write, I've thought of myself always as a historical fiction author, and I kind of stumbled into the 60s because I have this character who was, in Violet Grant, who was discovering a mystery that had occurred in 1914. But then I found out, it's actually such an interesting decade because, and this is where, you as a novelist, you're looking for areas of narrative friction. And what is great friction for me as a historical author is time periods when when social change is rubbing up against tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what's happening in this tiny little thing. In 1960, when the Kennedys walked into the White House, and they are this young, glamorous couple, and we know probably much more, I think the average person probably knew much more about what Jackie Kennedy was wearing than what was inside her head, what she actually thought.
Right.
And that was really the starting point. That was when politicians started becoming celebrities and the glamour component became important and the image component became so important. So I deliberately sort of used these Kennedy-like clues. I wasn't trying to recreate the Kennedys.
It's a great observation, though.
Think about that era.
Yeah, and it's a great observation. I don't think I've ever thought about that before, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, well, it was, and I thought, we see Jackie Kennedy, but we never know her. We never know her at all. And I wasn't recreating Jackie in the character of Tiny, but I kind of used that as a starting point where you have this woman who's outwardly perfect and well-dressed, and she's presenting this image to the world. How does she cope with that? I mean, suddenly we expect our political leaders all of a sudden to be these ideals of ourselves. So that means that you're putting on a facade and the inner person is really kind of unknowable. So I wanted to kind of step into, this person's head and the ambivalence in her role and how she really feels about this. And when we're ambivalent about the roles that we're sort of, inhabiting in life, we tend to undermine them, whether consciously or unconsciously, and that's exactly what Tiny's doing. She actually kind of wants her perfect world to crack open so that she doesn't have to live in it anymore. The problem, of course, is finding the strength to do that and to break free of, this kind of cliche that she's living right now. And all the characters are really living. I mean, they all kind of have these sort of, they present themselves to the world as stereotypes. And for the fun, challenge for me as a writer, especially those characters that, aren't speaking for themselves, how to get beneath that and understand the person who, is behind that mask.
But you have her family element. It's a matriarchal society, and it comes down from her mother, and she just, didn't know if she should go on the straight and narrow, and or should she buck tradition?
Exactly. Well, her mother, and again, Tiny comes, and that's one of the reasons why she's always striving to be perfect, is she comes from this kind of classically dysfunctional Fifth Avenue family, and by striving to be the perfect child, maybe they'll love me more, maybe they'll stay together and they'll love each other more, and we can be this perfect family. And of course, that's not what happens, and her mother is kind of trying to push her into a role that she kind of missed out on herself. And Frank's father is kind of doing the same. Tiny's husband, his father, kind of missed his chance to become president. So he's kind of pouring all that ambition into his son. So they're both kind of, trying to live up to the expectations of their parents, both of this couple. And when another young man walks into Tiny's life and she falls in love, it really creates a crossroads for her. Which life is she going to choose? The one that her mother and society sort of expects of her, or the one that, in fact is going to give her the most fulfillment in life? And in fact, Tiny's mother goes on, we see her own sort of arc of character as she comes around in the end and gets involved in the end of the book.
I would, just real quick, I want to read one sentence that illustrates for the listeners the way that you write with such visual words. This one sentence is an example of throughout the whole book. Her blouse was cream-colored and made of silk. It draped expensively against her body. Don't you like that word, expensively?
I do. It's a great
What do you?
visual.
Is that an adverb? You call that an adverb, Robin? That's not.
Exactly.
It's just a word. I wouldn't have ever thought to use the word expensively to describe the way a blouse drapes across a person's body. In fact, I don't even think I would have used the word draped.
Well, and then again, as a writer, you're always trying to think of new ways of saying something that's been said before. I mean, every book has a sentence about what someone's wearing and how they're wearing it. So, you're trying to sort of, come up with a new way of saying it that kind of makes the reader think again about something.
That is interesting, and it does the job. It puts a picture in our mind of what it looks like.
Well, I certainly hope so. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You, as a writer, you're trying out things, and you just hope they work. So thank you very much for.
Oh, you're welcome.
For letting me know that it did.
I have a copy of the book. Let me give it away to one of our listeners. It's called Tiny Little Thing. Beatriz Williams spells her first name Beatriz, in case you're looking her up. So call me if you want the copy that was sent to us. We have a hardcover copy of the book. A great summer book, by the way. It'll take you back to the 60s. So put on some Rolling Stones or something while you're reading it. And the rest of us have to go buy it. How do we do that, Beatriz? Are you there?
Oh, I think they took her away.
Oh, we went long. Okay. Well, just go to her site.
She has a website.
BeatrizWilliams.com is the website. And see, I should have known better than to go long. I think she's the one who went long, though, to be honest with you.
She did.
All right, so call me if you want the book. We'll take a little break, and we will be right back.
One of the most common questions those nearing retirement are asking, will I outlive my money? Retirement questions like these and many more will be answered every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement with hosts Francois and Julian Cozenet. Francois and Julian will help you put your retirement puzzle together. Catch Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Ocala's News Talk, The Source 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.